Hello, welcome back to my witch obsession. Today we're just doing a pick a card reading. There's not really a specific topic I had in mind. I kind of wanted it to be more of a general reading, whatever comes out. Maybe you need to hear it, maybe you don't. But yeah, so we have 3 groups to choose from here. I used Pokemon cards again, and I tried to pick ones that I felt gave me more Halloween vibes with fall coming through. So with pile 1, we have Gorgeist. I'm gonna just leave them because I feel like it's harder to see if I hold them up. Yeah, for pile 1, we have Gorgeist. For pile 2, we have Musharna. And for pile 3, we have Sableye. So timestamps will be in the description box below, and I will see you at your reading. But if you'd like to sit and listen to me ramble for a little bit, then hi. So honestly, I feel like lately I've been going through a big change, or like a lot of emotional shifts, and I've been translating and transmuting a lot of it into my relationships and how I approach them and how I think about connection in general. And I feel like it's been a very meaningful shift, and I feel like not doing what I was doing before, not just in regards to the channel, but just in general. I feel like I've just gone through a lot of changes, and I feel like I'm being very vague with that, but I just feel a lot more content because lately I've been embracing the idea more that everything's gonna be fine, and I've just been so much more satisfied with that and doing what feels right and doing what makes me happy. And I've been playing more video games, I've been reading, I've been going for walks and whatnot. And I feel like these are very general things. I feel like they don't really have much meaning at face value, but I feel like my intention here is that I've just been trying to make more time by adding more labor to things I like. And I do want to bring the horoscopes back, and I do want them to be a thing about this channel, you know, because I do like how much they help people and how much happier I feel people are, and I love doing that service. I just feel like I would want to do it when I feel like it's more honest to me and my personality and my brand, and I feel really good about that. I feel like when it's right, I'll probably get right back into it and do it again. But I don't know, I just feel like I haven't been posting a lot in general on all of my social media. I deleted my Instagram because I just feel like I was so obsessed with how I was being perceived and how people wanted to see me, and I feel like it affected how I approached doing videos on here, and you know, and not even just like the social media aspect, but like my personal life and how I show up for others. And you know, and I feel like I've been making more efforts to connect with people and be more open. And when I say connect with people, I just feel like I'm very bashful, or I feel like there is a hesitancy to emotionally invest in relationships, and it made me feel very isolated. It made me feel really alone because I feel like I was so obsessed with my relationship with what I was allowing others to perceive me as. But I don't know, I just also wanted to say thank you to everyone who's been sticking around, people who still stick around here and spend time with me. And even before all the changes I feel like I've made, the people who sat through my rambles and who sat through the first portions of the videos, I feel like that's just been very meaningful to me, and it's just something that I always liked. It was my favorite part of doing this channel, or it has been. I don't know, not to get too sentimental about it, just because I feel like I've been going through a major transformation process, and it's just been kind of emotionally overwhelming, and it brings about depression, I feel. But you know, not to say like, oh, like I'm not doing well, but it's more so in a way that's like feel like I'm working through a lot of interesting things. But yeah, Saturn's just been squaring my natal Saturn, and it's been a lot, and I feel really good about it because I feel like I'm handling it so much better, and I feel like I've developed a much more of a mature mindset around my sense of stability and self-worth. But that's really hard to say. And I've just been loving the stripped back feeling because I always really like when people make tarot readings and it's very like not elaborate, you know, it's very stripped back and it feels more homey. And I don't know, this is just like, if you were here in person, this is how we would be doing tarot reading. You know, it'd be bad lighting and it would be cards on a pillowcase. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know. I hope everyone's doing well, and I hope that you are doing what you need to do and what's best for you and filling up your own cup in that sense. And I hope everyone knows that I'm also trying to do the same and that I am managing the best that I can. And I really, really appreciate your patience. And I hope all of you know that I don't ever plan on quitting anything that I've done on this channel. It's just I feel like I move in waves and cycles. And lately I just feel like I've fallen out of it and I just need time to like reflect and dedicate that energy elsewhere. And I know I've said that before, and I know all of you know, but I feel like I want to say it again just for myself and but also for everyone else. But yeah, thank you so much for listening. I will see you at your reading. I love you. Hello, pile 1. If you chose Gorgeist, this is going to be your reading. So I have a little bit of a kooky layout today because I just got some cards as a gift from my friend and I really wanted to use them, so that was kind of like the main catalyst. So I'm gonna get to shuffling and kind of lay everything out here, and I feel like I'll explain my layout as I'm finishing it up. These are the cards my friend got me. I was just like, oh my gosh, I need to use these in a video. Yeah, I kind of wanted to do kind of almost a traditional layout, but a little bit of a different take on it. So I wanted to do the oracle cards as your current situation. And now we have the tarot. I feel like all these decks kind of match the vibe a little bit, so I hope you feel the same way. So let me push these up so you can see them better. So here's my intention. My intention is to have the cards on the left to represent your past situation. These two cards will represent your current situation. And then these two cards will represent the future. And then this card will represent advice. And I feel like all three of these cards kind of tie together a little bit for advice. So I wanted to start on your current situation. So for the current situation, we have the Forgotten. It says missed opportunities, fear of failure. And we have Conch Shell, Homecoming, Afterlife. I feel like a lot of you may be feeling like you are a little bit too dependent on external stimuli in order to do something. And I say that because the conch shell, I'm not even gonna lie, it made me think of the conch shell from SpongeBob where they kept asking it questions. And the reason why I feel like that makes me think of relying too much on external stimuli is because it's kind of like, you know, believing that things are a certain way because something or someone says it's going to be that way. And, you know, carving out your fate before you even know it just because you are afraid that things are going to work out a certain way and maybe you don't want that. Maybe the predictability of something really scares you. And even just when I think of the Forgotten, I feel like a lot of you may feel like very empty, or you might feel very unfulfilled right now. And it makes me think that a lot of you are embracing a life that lacks friction and challenge, or a life that lacks what's the word? Relative issues or relative challenges, in the sense that I feel like a lot of you may be very consumed with day-to-day matters and affairs, as opposed to asking yourself bigger picture questions, because maybe a lot of you can't handle the lack of control and the big issues that come with a bigger ideal and a bigger idea and concept. I feel like a lot of you are maybe very consumed with the busy life right now, and you might feel very exhausted, but at the same time maybe you simultaneously feel very unfulfilled because things are draining you and taking energy from you without necessarily adding much to your life back. And because of that, maybe a lot of you feel very heavy and very confused and lost. But even just when I think of homecoming and afterlife, the conch shell, it just makes me imagine that a lot of you are in like a full 360 kind of moment right now, where you're coming back around to something and maybe tapping back into a desire and a dream that you have. Because I know that I'm like spinning all this game saying like, oh, you're going through these challenges and you're trying to omit friction from your life, but I feel like it's more so that you're coming to this realization and you're starting to see that there is so much more for you, and that you've been free falling for a long time now. And I get this urge to tell you that you really haven't wasted as much time as you think, because you've gained a lot of perspective, and there's really no better time to start than now. And I feel like a lot of you very much recognize that. Anyways, let me see the past situation. We have the unknown, and we have Page of Cups. So I think it's interesting how the Page of Cups is a very curious card, and the unknown is about, it makes me think of like literally an egg, but you don't know what it's for, or seeds, but you don't necessarily know what the seeds are for, what they'll grow into, what they'll sprout into. And so I feel like there's been a level of uncertainty for a lot of you all for a very long time now. And the Page of Cups, it makes me think of a little kid that is being newly introduced to something. So I feel like leading up until this moment, a lot of you have had some kind of gentle emotional exposure to an idea or a concept that maybe you want to embrace or want to entertain for yourself. And I'm saying it like that because it just feels like a lot of you have tried to, like I said, guard yourself, or maybe a lot of you have grown up in a very protected environment where parents or guardians or family or anything alike prohibited you from exploring new things and kind of kept you in the same loophole and showed you how important a certain level of stability is, especially with homecoming. And I feel like this is where like that 360 part is coming in. This could literally be related to breaking free from chains that have been imposed upon you by your family or people whom you have known for a very long time now and lived with. But I feel like a lot of you are coming into this realization that something needs to change here. And there's like a very frustrating underlying energy with this pile, if I'm gonna be honest. And I feel like a lot of it is towards yourself, where it's like you want to do so much more, but you seemingly cannot able to. Or a lot of you are waiting for this special moment instead of just taking action. And it feels like your past has been very much like, maybe a lot of you don't remember much about your past, or maybe because there's been just like, maybe you feel like it's been so ubiquitous and so monotonous that there's really not much to remember, because you've been doing the same thing for so long now, and maybe memories and feelings often blur together, especially if you feel like you've gone through something traumatizing, or if you have gone through a lot of difficulties that led you to wanting a frictionless lifestyle. And I feel like it's just like a very potent energy. There's really no other way to say it. So I'm really hoping that everything I've said is resonating so far, and that, it's making sense for you, because if it's not, I really would choose another pile, because it just feels like this is a very potent energy, and it's something that's been like heavy on your mind and heavy on your psyche. And I know, I feel like the way I'm describing it, it makes it sound like a series of unfortunate events, but it just more so feels like a lot of you have felt very stuck, and a lot of you are at a breakthrough right now. And it feels like the universe has trusted you with a lot. And maybe a lot of you feel like you're like an energetical straggler where you may feel like you don't belong anywhere, or maybe some of you feel like you're floating, because I'm looking at this imagery and I'm seeing a figure, like a person floating by, and then this eye is looking up. So a lot of you are out of a loophole right now, and a lot of you may feel very not included in some way with what's going on in the world and what's going on around you. And I just want to say this feels more like a good thing than a bad thing, because although on one hand maybe some of you have a tendency to feel very alienated and left out, on the other hand I feel like it's a major opportunity for you to see what the flaws are, because you're very intelligent. This is true. You're extremely perceptive and alarmingly intuitive, and a lot of you may have very strong connections to the afterlife, as this card said. So maybe some of you can literally like have, like, you have medium skills, or a lot of you can speak to the deceased. But I feel like this is more so showing the fact that you're able to bring things back to life, and you're able to see things outside of the present. And because you're so perceptive, maybe this paralyzes you sometimes, because you see so much, and because that it causes a lot of these inhibitions where you don't want to move forward because you know what some of the consequences might be. But I also feel like it's more so about betting on yourself. Let me see the future, or moving forward. We have 3 of matches, and we have 5 of cups. I feel like the 5 of cups definitely shows that the thing that comes to mind is when you create such an comfortable and predictable lifestyle around you, no matter what change you make and no matter how you choose to break through, it will still bring about disappointments and emotional pains, but it will be in the name of progress. And this feels so important, because I feel like a lot of you may have a lot of illusions and mirages that you project onto your situation, where you believe that things are going to go way worse than they actually are, when in reality I actually feel like things are working out more in your favor than you think. It's funny because this card has an eye exam sheet, where it has all the letters, and it just feels like there's a lot to your situation that you can't see. And I definitely feel like moving forward, there will be a lot more that you realize that we're not in your line of sight. And I just got like a really good feeling. There's really nice things lying ahead of you. There's really good things that are waiting for you. And I just get like this urge to tell you, like, the universe like promises, like your guides and whatever might be out there, it really does promise you that there's good things too, and that it's truly impossible for there to be bad things exclusively. There are still good things, there are still cups that are upright, there are still things that will fill you up and make you happy, and they will be of much higher quality than the seemingly unimportant things that have been surrounding you lately, that not only clutter your brain and your heart, but also take up a lot of space that could otherwise be utilized better. And I just feel like a lot of you may have been filling your life up with things that are not that important. But overall, I feel like there's like a story being lined up here where a lot of you are coming into this realization and seeing that there's always going to be an opportunity, and that we're perpetually missing and gaining opportunities. We are always missing out on something, but we are also gaining something. It's just the way it is. It's pros and cons. You win some and you lose some. Truly, if you go out for coffee instead of staying home, you miss out on staying home, but then you gain the opportunity to connect with new people, get coffee and whatnot. It's a matter of perspective, and I feel like this is especially accentuated by the fact that the eye is here on the bottom. And being on the bottom, it makes me think of Earth, so this eye is on the floor, so it just makes me feel like a lot of you the world wants to see you, and this universe wants to perceive you more. And I feel like maybe you're a little bit of an airhead, or maybe a lot of you have, like I said, been free falling. But just know that there are a lot better things ahead of you than you think. And all that matters right now is that you ground yourself in whatever way is possible, even if it presents emotional difficulties, because feeling bad is probably 10 times better than feeling the lack of purpose or the lack of friction that you've been feeling for a while. And I definitely see opportunities coming towards you to embrace that, and knowing that you are not as held back as you may think you are. Especially, it's a little bit ironic because I get a very rebellious vibe from you, or that you are someone who, like I said, is very intelligent and very good at seeing things through. So it's a little bit ironic that it seems like you cannot see that for yourself, where you're not as limited as you think you are. Because I feel like when you're seeing other people and when you're looking into other people's situations, you can see right through it. Whereas for yourself, you're kind of like, no, y'all, I'm trapped, and you're just like, or like, you're I feel like you're worrying too much, and I feel like you're literally making stuff up on the fly to scare yourself sometimes. But I really want to pull the advice, so let's see. For you, we have the Page of Needles, which is swords. I like that. The Page of Needles is a very curious and information savvy card. It makes me think of a gossiper. It makes me think of someone who will do anything. It makes me think of like a lurker. And I'm not saying like, oh, like be a lurker, be like weird, but it's more so be more curious. And like, it literally makes me think, like, screw around and find out. It makes me think of the kid who's like, what happens if I do this, and it, like, everything blows up and crashes, and it's like a little bit disastrous. But at the same time, that is how you learn, that is how you figure things out. And I feel like for how careful you are and for how good you are at seeing things, it seems like issues and mistakes get blown way out of proportion. And I feel like this causes a lot of you to embrace like a very perfectionistic way of living that causes you to be hyper self-critical, and also to project this onto the people and situations around you. And it causes more distance, and it causes more space, because I feel like maybe some of you are afraid of letting people get too close to you, or maybe some of you are afraid of being intimate with either yourself or the people around you. And I just want to say that you should know that your curiosity is going to get the best of you eventually. So you may as well lean into it right now and control it the best you can, because while the opportunities and the situation is lying ahead of you and you are curious about it, this is a chance for you to explore and try new things and embrace a new idea, instead of letting you pass you by and wondering what could have been had you taken, have you embarked on it. And I just feel like that's kind of the vibe here, where it's like better to be curious about something and make the mistakes and have everything blow up, than to allow it to fade into the past, wondering what could have been and how it could have happened and what could have gone down had you just stuck with it. And I also want to just say that this is a very compassionate reading, where I feel like a lot of you are getting very intimate with yourself. The conch shell, like, I feel like sometimes gets like, like perceived to be something else. And what I want to say about that is, I feel like a lot of you are coming into a closer contact with your femininity and attracting and gaining more, instead of constantly maybe feeling like you're falling about and maybe even feeling like a victim at times. But I just really want you to know, and the universe wants you to know, that you are right where you need to be, and that things will start as soon as you decide that they start, and things can really change for you. And I feel like they're going to change for you. I just feel like there's a lot of good things coming towards you, and that there's a lot of opportunity for nice things to incubate and to really take off. And the first sign will be difficult emotions and grief, because even though these are uncomfortable feelings, it shows that you are opening up, and that you are, allowing yourself to receive difficult feelings. And with difficult feelings comes the opportunity to, hey, like, I can feel stronger feelings. It's like, imagine living in cloudy weather all the time, one heavy rain, and then suddenly the clouds start parting, and that there's so much more that you can see. So just know, pile, like, this feels like a huge liminal space kind of reading, where a lot of you maybe feel stuck or very lost. But just know that, like I said, you are in the right place right now, and there's good things coming towards you. as long as you allow yourself to take it. And you have a lot more than you think in order to create your own chances and doors opening. So you have all the keys and you're a lot more in control than you think. Embrace curiosity and allow yourself to feel that childlike wonder, because I just feel like you could attract a lot of great opportunities that way, because there's just something so, endearing and mesmerizing about you when you embrace that childish aspect of you, where you're genuinely curious and in love with something and enamored by it. It makes you attractive, but it also attracts very strong people who may not be as happy as you are with the things that you are perceiving and keeping for yourself. So when people are, whether it's you feeling strong feelings or other people's strong feelings, take it as a sign that the stronger the negative feelings are, the stronger the positive feelings are, and they're right there for you to embrace and to embody. So that's all I have for you, pile one. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the reading resonated, and if it did, I hope you will like, comment, and subscribe. Bye. Hello, pile 2. If you chose Musharna, this is going to be your tarot reading. So, just kind of want to do a little general read, see what everyone's going through. So, I have a little bit of a peculiar layout in mind, so I'm just going to shuffle the cards and kind of lay everything out and show you. But this deck was the main catalyst for why I wanted to do today's video, because my friend just gifted me this early, and it was funny because she was like, oh, like, I thought the shape of the cards is really nice and whatnot, and I thought you would appreciate it. And it was so funny because I was like, oh my gosh, I've wanted this deck before, and I thought about getting it, but I just never got myself to do it. So it's really nice. I think it's one of the best gifts I got. I love when people gift me a tarot deck, because it's just like, I feel like you can not go wrong. Anyways, let's see. And I have 2 oracle decks here today, actually. Just take this one. Oh, well, 2 wanted to come out. I guess we'll take 2 for you. And then, let's see. More time, just because I feel like it's really satisfying and I kind of want to listen. Cards for pile 2. Just move that one up here. This. So what my intention is for the middle cards, the middle column, to be about your current situation. So just what's going on, your current energy. The cards on the left are supposed to represent the past, and the cards on the right represent the future. So it's kind of like, like the classic 3-card spread, just a little bit more added onto it. And then this card, I wanted to represent advice moving forward. And I feel like that really goes for all 3 of these cards, but this one particularly, I wanted it to be about advice. So let's get right into your current situation. For you, we have the Dancer, self-expression, strength. And for these, we have the Blessed Child, purity, lost innocence. And Mojo Bag, justice, karma. The first thing that actually really stuck out to me about this little arrangement is the Dancer, because it has tulips on it along the edges, And tulips always remind me of spring. And I really like how we also have that purity and lost innocence, because it makes me feel like a lot of you are redefining yourself in the sense of what is pure and what is new and what is clean. And I feel like this could go a number of ways, but what it makes me imagine is someone who, okay, this is such a weird example, but it makes me think of people who are very religious, and then they are very much believing in, like their first time, doing stuff being after marriage. And irregardless or regardless of your beliefs on that and what your perspective is, I feel like we can all safely agree that what that purity and that innocence is that it's really defined by us, and it's more of a feeling. And I feel like a lot of you may have garnered shame or maybe difficult feelings around this idea of, feeling like you are still worth it and that you still have what it takes. And I feel like it's been a big thing for your sense of self-worth and making things right for yourself in the situations around you. It makes me think of people who feel like they're too old for certain things, It makes me think that a lot of people who feel like they're not qualified for something, that they can't do something, like maybe you feel like you can't be a dancer because of specific limitations or, things that maybe has been imposed upon you by society or even the pathway itself and the people who are involved in it. And I get these strong feelings of that a lot of energy right now for you is taking place or being set to make things right for you. So I feel like a lot of people are receiving their karma, whether it be you or people around you. But definitely above all else with the dancer, I just feel like a lot of you are opening up to being a little bit more expressive and being more open to yourself, being more vulnerable to what is important to you and who you are. So let's get into the past situation. We have 10 of buttons, which is the pentacles, and we have 5 of buttons. This reminds me of people who come from like a very good background, but it isn't what they necessarily wanted for themselves. Like, it makes me think of somebody who grows up in a very rich home, but they still feel very lost and very not poor, but you know what I mean, because they don't have their dream. It makes me think of like, oh, like I'm destined to become like a rich person or to own the family business, but when all I really want to do is be an artist. And that doesn't have to be the case for a lot of you, or any of you for the matter, but my point is that I feel like a lot of you may feel like you have a lot of stuff that maybe other people want, and maybe because of this, people have expressed jealousy towards you, or maybe a lot of you have felt like you've been cookie cut into an idea or a way of being that simply did not resonate with you, and people resented you for it for some reason. And the pentacles and buttons, that also makes me think of self-worth. So maybe a lot of you have felt like your self-worth is inherently tied to a bigger ideal or system, like maybe a family business or maybe your family morals and values. But this could also be the careers that you adopt, the friendships that you form, the relationships that you indulge in. It could really be anything. It could be your status on social media. It could be the foods that you eat, I just feel like there has been, up until this point, a very up and down relationship with material things, because 5 of buttons is about loss and it's about things being worth nothing, to 10 of pentacles, which is worth everything. It's about money, it's about riches, it's about all things beautiful. It's about success. So I feel like a lot of you have maybe literally experienced this as well in your finances, where maybe a lot of you go through periods of incredible wealth where you're able to buy whatever it is that you want, and then other periods where it seems like you're having to make ends meet just to have food on the table. And I feel like not only does this manifest in your material world, I feel like this also represents or manifests in your relationships and your emotions, where you maybe feel like you go through a lot of ups and downs and strong dynamics. And I just feel like this causes a lot of stress in your life, or this causes the sense of emotional, what's the word? Turbulence, because it seems like you're so influenced by external things, or it just seems like you're so obsessed with controlling stuff that it causes you to freak out, and it limits your self-expression, it limits how you perceive yourself, it limits what you see for yourself in the world. And I feel like lately a lot of you have been coming to this realization as things have been getting set right, that no, you deserve a lot more, and that you are very powerful. Because none of this makes me feel like a lot of you have been in this, mindset for a while. Like, I just feel like this has been your past, and I just feel like what I said about the past, it feels like it could have been a very, very long time ago. And because it happened so consistently and frequently, and it was so ingrained into your life for even just 1 year, it was so repetitive that I feel like it got kind of branded onto your mind. And I feel like a lot of you are still healing from that, and maybe it's related to a very big system, and a lot of you are breaking free from it and learning to be more comfortable with yourself, your body, and just anything else in your life. And it kind of just seems like things are being set right for you. And maybe a lot of you feel like there is less and less of the world around you, because you are putting so much more and investing so much more into you and what's important to you. But maybe it feels a little bit lonely at times, or a little bit isolating. And I feel like a lot of you are getting back to your inner child before everything kind of got foiled. Anyways, let's see the moving forward. We have Wheel of Fortune, and we have the Hanged Man. The first thing I want to say is, don't be so eager to try and control things, or to try and expect a certain outcome. Excuse me, oh my gosh. I swear I'm always gonna burp a little bit in every pod. That's so annoying. But anyways, I say this because the Hanged Man is about lying still. It's about being in one spot, and it's about suspending yourself to look at things from a different idea or perspective. And the Wheel of Fortune is all about turbulence and change, and things moving very rapidly and very suddenly. And what's even more interesting is that with the Hanged Man, it's depicted with a bat. So let me see. I feel like that's really interesting because, first of all, it makes me think of nighttime. And I feel like a lot of you could embrace a lot of new ideas through your dreams and your subconscious. But bats, it makes me think of echolocation. It makes me think of, not being able to see as well. So I feel like a lot of you are having to go off different senses and trust your intuition in a different way, and knowing where to go in a way that is maybe not necessarily familiar to a lot of people. So you're inherently unique in that sense, and I feel like you should know that, because I feel like maybe a lot of you feel inclined, or even sometimes desperate, to gain further insight through other people or the world around you, when it simply does not function as uniquely as you do. And because of that, I feel like defining for yourself how you can navigate your situation and your emotions will be very valuable, because not only will you pave a path for yourself, I feel like you will naturally start to find a tribe or people who very much relate to you. But outside of that, I also just feel like, the Hanged Man, it stays still, whereas the Wheel of Fortune is always changing. But them two together, it makes me think that you don't have to do that much in order for your reality to change and for things to start shifting around. I feel like what's more important is that you embrace your feelings and that you look at the situation and slow down a little bit, because things will start to move on and start to change. Not because they themselves are changing, but because you are choosing to look at it differently, you know, from the optimist to the pessimist. Y'all be seeing those memes where it's like, this glass is half full and this glass is half empty, you know? It really is about perspective. And I feel like maybe a lot of you have heard that very frequently, and a lot of you probably hear it all the time, but I feel like you hear it all the time because it really is that simple. And I feel like opening your mind and learning to look at things from a different perspective will come from expressing yourself more, because through expressing yourself, I feel like a lot of you will be able to delve into things that make you happy and the things that resonate with you. And as that happens, you'll start to open up to new ideas and new ways of enjoying these things. And it will bring about a lot of change to the way that you look at stuff. Anyways, and just moving forward in general, I feel like a lot of you may feel like you're in a huge standstill or like you're not doing anything, but at the same time, everything around you is changing. So I feel like the universe just wants you to know that it's really trying to step in here and make things right for you, because I definitely feel like whatever has happened to you in the past, it wasn't fair to you, and it was just a lot of karma being dished out from other people, especially if you feel like you carry karma from, you know, like karmic debt from your parents or from people around you, or maybe even karmic debt from a past life. But I feel like my point here is that a lot of you are just in this state of like things are being set right for you, and that you are getting what you deserve, what you are deserving of, and that's mostly a lot of good things, and a lot of you having an opportunity to set out again and do things differently and do things in a new way. And I feel like a lot of you may be in the midst of a new beginning. Let's see what the advice is. Yeah, we have 6 of buttons. I really like the 6 of buttons in here because it's right after the 5 of buttons. So it makes me think that, you know, you're 1 pentacle closer to the 10 of pentacles, and, you know, a system where you feel most fulfilled and most happiest. But I feel like the 6 of buttons shows that maintain balance in your life, maintain health, maintain stability in the ways that you feel comfortable with, and allow yourself to change and allow yourself to grow into it. And don't be so afraid to do that trial and error, because I feel like a lot of you ultimately are getting to know yourself at a deeper, more intimate level. And this is a very, you know, it's a scary process, and it can be very triggering and it can be very scary, just like how it is to get to know another person, you know? Getting to know another person, their fears, their emotional difficulties, their heartbreaks, and their good qualities. It's very overwhelming, and it requires you to be very present. And sometimes things can be taken the wrong way. Things can feel very real and very surreal. And not all the time is it necessarily a fun process, especially if you're not someone who's very good with intimacy. And, you know, my point is that if it's so dicey and complicated to get to know other people, it is going to be that much more complicated to get to know yourself. But the labor will pay off exponentially because you know yourself. You know, you are you, and you have all those experiences to fall back on. And I just feel like what I'm trying to say here is that getting to know yourself will be a little bit easier, and it's just like an amazing process. It's like something that you're already doing, you know, like this doesn't feel like, oh, like you need to do this, you need to do that. It feels like a lot of you are seriously learning to look at yourself and your situation from a completely new point of view, and it's opening you up to love yourself and to appreciate yourself and to truly see yourself in this pure, genuine form, as opposed to someone who is tainted, jaded, or even like run down. Especially if you've just felt very tired, or you felt very alienated, or you've just felt unhappy in some way. I feel like a lot of you are opening up a lot to yourself, and a lot of you you really do owe it to yourself. This period of life, you really do owe it to yourself to stabilize. And I feel like it'll also show in your money, especially if you've been trying to do like a creative thing, you know, like do creative stuff in order to make money and monetize it, or if you're an artist or literally a dancer. I just feel like a lot of you should know that indulge in this area of your life, do things that make you happy, and the money will come towards you and truly follow you. Because I feel like you have very good energy when it comes to money. Like, weirdly enough, I feel like a lot of you maybe like get scared or stressed out about money, but like you've never been like rock bottom vibes of it. I feel like you have very good sense and you're very good at managing things, and you're extremely intelligent and very resourceful. That's the best word. Like, you're a very resourceful person, and I just feel like you should trust yourself a lot more, because my goodness, do you have amazing common sense. And if something goes down, I would personally call you. So it's like, what's good, you know? But truly, I feel like the best way to sum up this reading, pile 2, is know that you are developing a stronger relationship with yourself, and you are obviously becoming more intimate with your body and your identity. And this will bring about a lot of changes, because as you change inwardly, the external reality will be perceived differently, point blank, period. And it's bringing a lot of balance and a lot of stability, but also a lot of justice, especially if you've been done incorrectly by other situations in the past. But just know that moving forward, there will be plenty of what you need, whatever that might be. Money, love, sunrises, sunsets, there will be plenty of good things for you, and the universe is full on supporting you, opening up to yourself and what you appreciate and who you want to become and how you are changing right now. Anyways, that's all I have for you, pile 2. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the reading resonated, and if it did, I hope you will like, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you will be in my next video, or I'll see you in my next video. Bye. I love you. Hello, pile 3. If you chose Sableye, this is going to be your reading. So let's get right into it. I have 2 oracle decks and a tarot deck. This oracle deck is the reason why I wanted to film today's video, is because my friend gifted me this the other day, and I was like, oh my gosh, I literally need to make a video with it. But I have a kooky little layout. I've honestly been having a lot of fun, or it's just been enjoyable to think about layouts, and I don't know. It just feels like the reading feels more cohesive for me. Okay, so let's get into it. Let me lay out the cards and show you what I'm talking about. And then the other oracle deck. This oracle deck reminds me of really good memories. It reminds me of fall of 2023. Just too good. And then the tarot deck. There's like this thing on this card that's bothering me. What is that? Do you see it? Why is it there? Who is that? Anyways. I also think I'm gonna start keeping Yakults in the fridge, because I just had one. It was so delicious, and I'm just like, oh my god, this was so refreshing. I cannot believe what's happening to me on this day. Okay. Move this kind of out the way. Okay, so my intention here is for this middle column to be your current situation, and then the left 2 cards to be about your past situation and like your energy leading up until the present. And then these 2 cards will represent moving forward, the future, if you will. And then this card will represent advice and, you know, maybe focus. So it's kind of like the classic 3 card spread, you know, past, present, future, but just with some more cards thrown in. So let's get right into your current situation. For you, we have the Tailor, attention to detail, pride. And we also have Sassafras, healing, self-care. The tailor made me think of a lot actually because of the scissors. The scissors, it made me think of a few different things. It made me think of cord cutting and it made me think of cutting ties, but it also made me think of the movie Us, if you all have seen it. It's technically like a thriller horror movie, and I don't know why I've seen all these horror movies when I don't even like them. I'm just surrounded by people that like them. Let me know if you relate. But besides the point, I don't know if you've seen that movie, and if you don't want spoilers, I'm sorry. But basically, scissors are a huge theme in the movie, and scissors are used pretty in tandem with this group of people, like the tethered. I'm not going to explain the movie, but I feel like thinking about that movie, it just makes me think that a lot of you may be recalibrating a lot of your life. That's what the tailor makes me think of. It makes me think of recalibrating clothes, tying them, changing them, making them better fit you. And I feel like a lot of you are definitely going through something like that in your life where you are making something fit you more, whether it literally be clothes and you're working with actual clothes. But this could also be a signifier that a lot of you are in this vibe of working with your hands and putting your reality to use in terms of your resources, what you have right now, and making them accommodate you more. Especially if it feels like you're one of those people where you're constantly having to compensate, make sacrifices, and accommodate the people and situations around you. And maybe a lot of you have been in this stuck state of being a constant people pleaser and doing so much for the people around you. And I feel like with Sassafras, this is a huge opportunity for you to heal and for you to do things for you and to do things because you enjoy it, because it makes you feel good. And finally, letting things accommodate you as opposed to you constantly having to accommodate others, especially if you feel like you have been in difficult dynamics where your eagerness to please and help others has enabled others in doing less in their life and being lazy and flat out inconsiderate. And obviously that doesn't have to be the energy of everyone, but I would imagine for what a kind-hearted person you are and how detail-oriented and considerate and thoughtful you are, it's very much obvious that you've had your fair share of people who are very nasty and very mean and not very tactful either, and taking into consideration how you feel and what is important to you. So I feel like at face value here, it just shows that your current situation right now shows that a lot of you are healing and learning to be a lot less critical of yourself as well. I feel like for how detail oriented you are, maybe a lot of the time, a lot of you can suffer because you feel like you only see what's wrong in a situation. And I feel like maybe a lot of you are coming out of that and learning to accept things as they are and being a lot less hypercritical and maybe even hyper independent if you feel like you kind of isolate yourself or continue. It makes me think of like the Hermit because it's associated with Virgo. You could literally have strong Virgo in your chart, but it makes me think of that vibe of isolating yourself, being alone, and finding a lot of joy in that. But then at some point, it starts to feel like a prison because you are depriving yourself of what you need as a human being. But maybe there are certain fears revolving around connecting with others or opening up to different possibilities because you're not wanting to change and wanting to be flexible in that sense. So you may be sometimes settling with being in uncomfortable or difficult situations as opposed to speaking up and allowing the situation to cater to you more. So I feel like not only are you doing more to change things up, but I also feel like you are allowing yourself to receive a lot more and be a lot more emotionally open. So I want to see your past situation. We have Wheel of Fortune. And we have Two of Matches, which is the Wands. I actually feel like a huge ultimatum was maybe presented upon a lot of you at some point. The Two of Matches of Wheel of Fortune, it makes me think that no matter what decision you make, you face change. It makes me think of people who present ultimatums in relationships. It's like, quit doing this or else I'm gonna break up with you. And it doesn't have to be that case entirely for any of you, but it's just more so of a metaphor for the fact that maybe a lot of you have felt like there have been a series of decisions that you've had to make that have really changed your life for the better or worse. And I feel like through having to experience and witness life as it came, as opposed to taking it more into your own hands so that situations and opportunities could come to you a little bit more on a timely manner. And I feel like maybe a lot of you have just felt a little bit lost, or maybe kept in the dark in that sense, where there's been difficult decisions to make up until right now. But I also feel like it's been a lot of healing, because I feel like it was a long time coming for you, especially if there have been things that you had to do that was right for you, like getting out of the friendship that was very toxic, getting away from the job that was not good for you, getting away from the situations that weren't paying you enough, giving you enough love. And it's just like a very difficult and a very heavy energy where people don't really seem to see how capable and how strong you actually are, pile 3. There's a lot you've overcome, and I feel like if you would write it down in tandem with how you feel, it would actually be really, really impressive. And not that you had to go through these things in order to be considered impressive, but it's just more so of like, it doesn't matter what you went through, it's just the way that your mind works and how you are so capable of making things happen, and how you really do have this laser like focus. But Wheel of Fortune to me is also about change. It's just about unpredictability. There's really no heads or tails with this card in my eyes. And maybe leading up until this point, a lot of you have faced something like that, where maybe you felt like there's been a lot of random decisions to make, or maybe a lot of you have felt very much so like there's a lot of instability in your life, or you feeling like there is a lack of passion. And matches and wands is, to me, is about flames and passion. So it makes me think that maybe during certain periods you die out and you no longer feel the burn and the motivation to do anything, and then others of you feel this strong urge to get everything done. And maybe because of that, there has been kind of like a bumper to bumper vibe, or like stop and go energy with your sense of motivation and your progression and your ability to get things done, no matter how simple or complicated they may be. And I feel like the best way to say it is, I feel like a lot of you have just felt very dysregulated and very stressed out and very worried, and maybe just like a nervous wreck at times. Like if you're watching this, I feel like a lot of you, and it's been resonating so far, I feel like a lot of you have felt very anxious for a very long time now. And it's just like a very overwhelming energy. Like some of you may just be literally overworked. Anyways, let's see the future moving forward. We have 8 of Needles, which is the swords, and we have 8 of Buttons. I like to see 2 8s here. It's after the 7, and the 7 to me is a very indecisive, very difficult number, because it just makes me think of like, okay, what's next? So it makes me think that maybe a lot of you moving forward, there will be like, you're really doing as much as you can. I feel like the universe just wants like, what it makes me think of? It makes me think of the person who's in class and they finish all of their work, and it's like there's 30 minutes left of class, and maybe you just don't understand what to do with yourself and what to do, and it just feels like you're in this time pass. Because in class it's easier to maintain because there is a certain period where you're gonna leave and the class is over. But in life, when you really do all that you need to get done in the moment, you may feel like you're in a huge time pass, and you may feel very anxious and maybe even very stuck and stagnant. And I feel like the vibe here is that you're not stuck or stagnant. It's just that you have done a lot more than what was asked of you and required of you in your situation. And I feel like a lot of you should just really trust that you are extremely capable. If there seriously was something wrong, or if there was a problem, you would have already diagnosed it and gotten to work on it. So trust that you are ahead of the game and that you are doing everything that you need to be doing right now. You're capable, and I feel like the universe just wants to say that it's very like, it doesn't know what to do with you sometimes, because it just like, it literally just feels like you are an overachiever through and through, and you could do something over 3 times, and then by the time everyone else is done, it's just like, y'all are slow. And obviously not to sit here and just be like, oh, there's nothing that you can do right now, and you're very productive and whatnot. I think that you crave something a little bit more just more than that in general. And I feel like the universe just really wants you to know that I want you to slow down. You know, if you know that you're going to get things done as quickly and efficiently as possible, I feel like you should make room for pleasure and make room for enjoyment, you know, especially in the process, and increasing areas of life where it's like if you genuinely just enjoy the process, make the process elongated. You know, it's a weird little analogy, but I remember there was this video that I saw Doja Cat do where she was doing her makeup, and she was like, I really enjoy doing my skincare and my makeup, so if I have time, I will take my time and I will move as slow as I want to because this is something that I enjoy. And I feel like that's the vibe for you, pile three. It's elongate things that bring you pleasure and make you happy, whether it be your craft, your work, and it could be anything else in your life. But I just feel like the universe doesn't want you to rush so much and be so obsessed with getting things done, because you're gonna get it done, of course, but may as well look through it a little bit differently, take different routes, and experiment more to broaden your horizons and try new things. Let's pull the advice. We have the Six of Buttons. Interesting, because pile 2 got this card as well. So a lot of you could be drawn to pile 2, or you could be on the same, whatever. But the Six of Buttons just makes me feel like a lot of you are reaching some sort of balance right now. And I feel like maybe you feel like things have broken through very quickly, very suddenly, in the sense that I feel like a lot of you were very much around, not to be like rude, but like useless people, or a lot of you were around things and people that didn't really benefit you at all, but in fact kind of held you back or inconvenienced you. And so as a result, I feel like a lot of you were very used to being busied and having your time eaten up by people around you or things that needed you, as opposed to you being able to water the things that make sense to you, make you happy. And I think it's funny that I say water because the plants really stick out to me in this card. So I feel like the universe just really wants you to open up to pleasure, and it wants you to indulge more in the things that make you happy, you know, arts and crafts, or, you know, maybe fashion, maybe, you know, doing things that you've always wanted to do, like baking, cooking, you know, maybe you want to get into teas, collecting things. I just feel like a lot of you have very much had your time taken up by situations that were constantly requiring you, but didn't necessarily do much for you, as opposed to occupying you and keeping you busy and fulfilling your desire to help and have a sense of purpose. And I feel like a lot of you, it's like a, you know, the butterfly started to take more nectar than is needed from the flower. And I feel like a lot of you were the flower where it's like you can only give so much. And I feel like it makes me think of like a mother, you know, who's taking care of her kids well until, you know, they're like in their 40s or something, you know, and they, you know, if everyone's okay, you know, that there's really nothing wrong with that. But it's just like there is a desire to acknowledge here that things will not always be this way, and that things will abruptly change one day, and people need to break free and people need to do things differently, you know. And I feel like a lot of you are in this vibe right now where you realize that things have to change. And I feel like a lot of you have made some lightning fast changes in your life, and it has definitely proved to be very hectic and very sudden and very unpredictable. But at the same time, I feel like it has brought new opportunities into your life, or at least some kind of new perspective. And at the very, very least, and most definitely, an excess of energy, because you are no longer dedicating it to parasites and vampires that are taking and taking and taking from you. Not to mention taking you for granted. And I feel like a lot of you are opening up in this area of your life, like, wow, like I can take care of myself more. The universe really, really wants you to take care of your body more. The tailor, it makes me think of when you wear clothes or shoes that are too small. It's not healthy for you, and it will at some point start to catch up with you. And I feel like the universe wants you to make more room for yourself. And don't be afraid to grow and take up space, and to open up and be less tolerant, and to make situations cater to you more, so that not only will you weed out things that are not of good quality, but you will also be standing up for yourself more, and therefore you will be inclined to reach even higher for even better opportunities that will add exponentially more to your life. So know that right now, above all else, you are raising your standards way above than what they used to be. And that is a very, very good thing, because you are an incredible person who is very, very smart and very much to the point, and you get things done very efficiently. Like, I don't know, like, you're just like a really hard worker, and you just give me the kind of person that's just like, you're always very straight to the point, and at the same time, like, you're just so like fun, and like you have a great sense of humor. Like, who are you? Like, what is this? But just know, pile 3, that good things are coming towards you right now. Be patient right now, and know that your mind is limiting you, so don't follow it too much. Trust your feelings, and trust that emotions are coming up to the surface to be released and to be healed. And as that happens, your mind will start to expand based on the serotonin that comes from that. Like, your mind is expanding right now and it's evolving, so allow it to be, so that it can do that instead of working it to death. Anyways, that's all I have for you, pile 3. Thank you so much for watching. I hope the reading resonated, and if it did, I hope you will like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye. I love you.